Okay, welcome back. This is the Doctor and Doctor at Doc and Doc Show, and we're here with our guest, Elisa Dukoff. She's a...
It's Alicia.
You know, for, 5 years I've been saying the wrong way. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Alicia Dukoff.
Alicia.
Alicia Dukoff. And she's a therapist up here, and she has some interesting topics to talk about. We're getting started on the paraphilias. So, and before we close, we talked about, child rape and child porn and bestiality, and we're not going to talk about those.
Right, and I wanted to just start the segment by saying that I'm really glad that we addressed those two things and got them out of the way, because really that's not what we're here to talk about today. When we talk about paraphilias, when we talk about sex, we talk about human sexuality, we are talking about people in general who have these urges, these natural urges. The majority of us have the same ones, and they're kinky, and they're a part of us.
Kinky is a good word.
Kinky
it's not
is great.
A bad word.
Get to know the word kinky. Get to know what it means to you.
Find the kink inside you, and you can still, Alicia and Dr. Jenkins and I were talking about, you can try things with your partner, with your trusted partner, with the paraphilias, and...
actually makes you closer.
Of course it makes you closer. Yeah. There's trust involved
There's
there.
An exploration there.
Yeah.
It brings a whole new level of excitement to your relationship.
But you can still be president of the PTA, and hold. It doesn't make you a bad person.
Actually,
this is something you do with a trusted partner. Go ahead.
What I find amazing is like some of the people that you see that are the kinkiest, that are the most open and sexually explorative in their own, behind their own closed doors with their spouse. These are people that you would never assume. Mm-hmm. That you don't look like it. There's no look to it.
I know they always seem like they have a movie, and somehow they bust into the Vice President of the United States, and guess what? He's got the panties on, and the bra, and the wig.
Right.
People you wouldn't think would be that way, but that's the way it really is.
Whatever floats your boat,
that's the way it
as long as it's not hurting anybody. And the only way you'd be hurting yourself is to continue to suppress these urges and allow them out in very unhealthy ways.
And spiritually, it's kind of sad that you live your life that way and you don't allow your soul to be free and allow your soul to experience some of the things that we have to we have to offer on this world.
That's what Let It Loose is all about.
Let it loose.
Let it loose. Loose meaning light. Let your light shine. Let your light out. It's part of you. And we really have to break down what we've been taught that it isn't part of us.
But I think, too, Alicia, in relationships, it has to be mutual agreement, mutual trust, that someone doesn't, get turned off by it. And sometimes that's when a sex therapist can
really comes in handy.
Very helpful.
Because I think it must really be hard for you therapists, because
we love it.
The patient, hard in this way, the patient comes to you and says, I really want to have better sex with my partner.
Yes.
That's your wife or your husband or whatever. And they say, well, why is it not good? And they say, well, he wants me to make snorting noises when we have sex. And then how do you get the other person in your relationship to agree to that?
A lot of convincing, and I will tell you, it's difficult for couples to come to you with a paraphilia initially. Mm-hmm. They have to learn that the therapist is competent, well-trained, and that they can discuss anything with you. They have to trust their therapist.
The level of rapport, the trust.
And
exactly.
a sex therapist can get into that pretty fast, and make the comfort
because
in the room.
It's all about normalizing. Like the first thing that you do is help them not feel like a freak, the quote-unquote term freak. That's what they feel like when they come through your door. But actually, the fact that they're walking through your door is the first indication that they're ready to not be that freak, that they're ready to integrate it into them and not think of themselves as a freak. That's the first thing I say is bravo to you for walking through this door right now and wanting to face this fear about yourself, this construct that's been created about you, about this urge you have. The fact that you're here to address it is the first step in that integration.
It's interesting. I'll tell you about a case that I had, and I can talk about this because I don't define the person, and it was way in another...
Confidentiality is intact.
Oh, totally.
The other side of the United States, I imagine.
Other side of the United States, anyway, and I don't see them now. So the person came to me, and he liked to be teased. He liked to be told to clean the house. He liked to be
The slave.
treated,
Yeah.
yes, like
Such
a slave.
a sexy role, too.
And he wants to
Can
wear
be.
something that does not allow him to have an erection, but to be teased the whole time. And, then he's very bad. And like you said before, that probably happened when he was 4 or 5 years old. He was
Right.
shamed or teased
And that's
when
how
he
he's
got an
handling it
erection.
later.
So now, exactly as you said, the paraphilia comes out and starts owning him, and he wants that desperately. I did see his wife, who came in, and she's a nice lady, kind of vanilla, but we
Love the term vanilla. You might have to address what that means for people. It's such a great way to introduce this whole thing.
not very explorative or open.
She hasn't discovered her deep dark chocolate layer yet, basically.
with caramel and all that.
Strawberries and cream.
I know, but I talked to her, and I found a dungeon where he could go, and it was not illegal, but I knew of the madam in the dungeon, and
Well, I'm sure that she knows all the madams in.
I think all good sex therapists have to know
You've got
the right
to
people
have
to
these
reference.
connections,
Right,
and the wife
definitely.
agreed to that. She understood in therapy how important it was to him to occasionally act out. Now, here's the kicker. His paraphilia got a hold of him in the wrong way, and he hired someone in a town nearby. He was well known in the community, and he hired someone in a town nearby. The person who he hired, and I told him not to do this, to go to someone who knows what they're doing. The person tied him up to a wall with duct tape where he could not get out, took his money and left. So, you've got to be careful with things. You've got to be with people you can trust.
You know how they have Angie's List and Craig's List? You probably could tell people what they wanted. You want the duct tape,
Oh
call
my
this
gosh,
person.
you don't even know what's out there.
Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Do
well.
not do it.
There's actually something called FetLife, which is a Facebook page-like type thing for people with fetishes, and it's all anonymous, and it's a whole scene.
Wow.
Then there's, God, you've got everything these days. Ashley Madison, which was just hacked a little while back,
It was huge in this area,
right?
in Santa Clarita.
Ashley
Exactly.
Madison. It's a whole website dedicated to married people having an affair. There is so much out there these days for people who have suppressed urges, who have to have them explored in unhealthy ways, subversive ways, ways that are underhanded, or let's just call it deviant.
And that will get them in
and
trouble.
it's there. It's all there, right?
Right.
But FetLife and other things like, these S&M clubs, BDSM clubs, there are so many of them now. These are a very healthy way to do this, especially when you have a couple, especially when you're in a couple together, and the both of you consent to doing this together and going and exploring together. And maybe both of you are on, and most of the time you will be on totally different levels of the spectrum. One of you will be more explorative, perhaps, and in a different way than the other. But it's about being on a journey, not only together, but with yourself. And contracts are incredibly important in that world. When you know that what's our safe word? When are we going to do this? Who are we going to do this with? What are our boundaries? What are our limitations?
Absolutely.
That it's very respectful when you do it correctly.
And Alicia, I'd like to say, I think that I don't know. I had two thoughts going at the same time.
What?
Well, I think that back to while you're thinking
Go
about
ahead.
it, I think that you're talking about the clubs, but most of the time these things are done in their houses.
Yeah.
They agree to do these certain things and with the couples, and they do it in their house. They don't go to some club, but I never even heard of FetLife. So
Oh, we'll get this. Oh,
get
yeah,
that.
go ahead. Did you think about it?
The thing that I wanted to caution people about, and it's with any profession, go to the right person. There are people who say, oh yeah, I do sex therapy. Sure, they've taken a course or two, and they really are going to hurt you more than help you. It's like, gee, I've taken a course in biology, so you don't need to go to Dr. Jenkins. Hey, I can cure you. Don't do it. It's going to cause you problems. It's going to cause you more problems than you have in the beginning. So I think really seek out a well-trained professional, well-respected MD, and one size doesn't fit all. Just because somebody's a therapist,
Just like the toys you're going to be getting.
the toys you're going to be getting. Yes.
The pink toys, the
lots
black
of
toys, the brown toys.
All different colors on that spectrum as well. Yeah.
Of course.
The funny thing is like the sub-dom relationship and the fact that you didn't know about, even FetLife, for instance. There are so many ways now that these things are being incorporated in society. And as I said, for these younger generations as well, there's more of a movement in that. There's a liberation that's opening for people nowadays you can get on Craigslist and find a dominatrix that will make you their slave. And people pay a fortune for this.
Make sure, check her out first.
Right.
This was my patient
rules,
went to one that, tied him up and took his money. So we want to be really, really careful there. I
think with anything you do in life, you have to kind of get to know your internal guidance system. You have to get to know your internal compass.
So you're right. We have to have, like we talked about, the safe words, and you have to what you're going to agree to do and what not do. Otherwise, it's dangerous.
But what we want to talk about is the fact that people think that they are so freaky or there's something wrong with them if they want to be tied up. And that's not, it's the opposite. It's great to explore that as long as what you said, the safety environment is in place, there's a contract, like either verbally or written sometimes in most cases, in place, and that you're with a person who you can trust to do that with.
Yeah.
And that's why as a couple, a lot of the couples I see and that I've seen, it's wonderful when they both open up to that journey together. Sexually, because my God, like the levels, the dimensions that start to get explored between these two people as they start to explore their deep, dark chocolate layers. They may look like vanilla on the outside, but inside it's like that drumstick with the dark chocolate inside that you get to, and you can just lick it up. It's amazing.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing, and you don't even realize the extent of yourself. You're on that journey, and it's limitless. It's as limited as your own imagination is.
One of my friends is a retired policeman, and he always jokes around, but I think he's serious. He loves to put handcuffs on people.
Oh, handcuffs are so sexy.
Handcuffs,
They're so sexy.
And I'm talking about dates, not his prisoners.
So he goes out and handcuffs his date.
Oh my God, if I ever went on a date, I've been on a date with a cop, but yeah, a long time ago. The thing is, I would have been disappointed had he not put a handcuff on me. It's like, well, you have them, you're going to use them, and you've got the key, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have fun with yourself, but the real thing that we're talking about today is that people find this wrong. And this is something that we are hoping in our profession to help people come home to. This is about integrating parts of who you really are and not being ashamed of it, not being fearful of it. So I have this metaphor that I've used for a long time called the monsters under your bed. And it's really just a very simple concept anybody can understand, whether you ever had monsters under your bed as a kid or not.
Do you have any?
I have no monsters, but I told her once before about it when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
It was windy and the branches of the trees were scraping against the house. I got all scared from that. I remember that one.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So when you're a kid, and remember, we're all just big kids. You know that, right? Like, what is it to be an adult?
We hope so.
We are all just big kids. And when you're a child and you're in your room and it's dark and it's late at night, you've got these monsters under your bed or in your closet. Let's just say it's under your bed. And the monsters in your mind are so much scarier than anything that could ever be presented to you in reality.
If anyone knew that I thought about this or that this turned me on, oh my gosh, I'd be so ashamed. So we do have to work with the shame factor. Well, how far have we come? I mean, somebody admitting or coming out is the word, that they're gay. I mean, now it's kind of like, so
I love that.
We're
I'm so grateful
now.
for it. Yes.
And I think
it's a big crack in the consciousness.
Yes, and being trans now, there's been so much in 2015. That was the biggest thing.
Well, the Caitlyn thing?
Yep. The whole bathroom thing. I love that was even a debate. The fact that it's even a public debate is great. It was like, we're talking about transsexuals. It's awesome. These are things that were whispered like the word sex was back in the 50s.
Right.
For the fact that it became a public conversation is healthy. And it moves us forward into the next phase, which is that everybody is genderless, really, and we're all on some spectrum of male or female, male and female. You want to talk about Tantra on a later talk, we are going to get into Tantra, because Tantra is all about the fact that all of us have the male and female energy inside of us. And guess what tantric sex is, folks, from thousands of years ago to today. And this is still a sacred practice that I am going to incorporate in a lot of my work. My male gets it on with your female, and the male inside of you gets it on with the female inside of me. So I have a male and female in me, you have a male and female in you, and both sides of our genders are getting it on. And in a very conscious way, spiritually. When you are conscious of what you're doing energetically with your partner, looking into the eyes deeply, breathing into each other, holding the heart, and looking deep into each other, this is eroticism at its finest. This is like deep sexual erotic pleasure, because this is something that is engaging every aspect of you as a spiritual, mental, physical, emotional being with that partner.
I think we're scaring people. We have no phone calls today. People are listening so intently that they're afraid to pick up the phone.
We've been hung up on.
I hope it's opening their hearts a little bit and their
all the
psyches
chakras.
a little
How about
bit.
that?
Yeah.
And I think we should have a Tantra subject maybe next time. We'll talk about chakras and all of that. I mean,
we have so many subjects to talk about, and if anybody out there wants to know about something, or you've always wondered about something, or you'd like to hear it discussed in a mature, clinical, fun manner, let us know. Email us. We have to get rid of the shame with sex. There are some areas that we
I think
don't
it'd be
talk
hard.
about,
I think
but
it's
the
hard to make a
rest-
phone call. I mean, it's hard enough to walk into a therapist's office, meet a therapist for the first time. People that look me up, they look up sex therapist, right? Just looking up a sex therapist is a very hard thing to do for people, because you really have to get to that point in yourself where either something that is naturally happening inside of you that is causing a great obsession in you, and it's causing something unhealthy about your relationship or in you, just for you to get to that point where you have to call a sex therapist is a big part of your journey. It's not that's a breakthrough moment that you actually get to that point where you're like, oh my God, you know what? I need help. I need help figuring out how to integrate this into me. And what I really love is that a lot of people will come into the office not trying to get rid of what they're feeling, but trying to integrate with it.
Trying to keep it and say, how do I
live
through
with this?
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. What have you come up with of some of your clients that you've been doing it so much longer than me? What's one story that you have that you really helped somebody integrate this in their lives in a very healthy way, maybe even with a couple?
Yeah, I think we should bring that up when we come back, because we're going to get ready to go on a break again. We're at the hometown station, KHTS AM 1220, 298-5487. Thank you. Yeah, this is Dr. Gregory Jenkins. I'm back here with Dr. Curts and Alicia Dukov.
Right, good job.
I almost got that right. We were joking during our break about things, and we're talking about how people meet. And I was joking with Dr. Curts about we met at a swingers convention.
Sure we did.
Yeah.
Sure we did. There we were. We had so much fun, didn't we?
Mostly we had fun.
But you know what? You said you weren't going to tell.
I only told the audience. I didn't tell anybody. And they're all our friends, I'm sure.
Funny thing is, we've got the no secrets policy, but he's the one that has to stay confidential. Broke a rule there. You're going to be punished later, Dr.
Trouble.
Jenkins.
Oh boy, I may like that.
And
he's going to be punished. And speaking of
punishment,
tell me
we
about
were
that.
talking about that. Something that's becoming on the spectrum more vanilla in trusting, healthy relationships. You know, you don't go on a match date, the first date, and say, hey, this is what I'd like. That would be dumb. Don't do it. You could get hurt, and we care about you. But dominance and submission, there's bondage, and, you know, with the whips and chains and tying up and all. But let's talk about, in a relationship, dominance and submission. I'm finding that is so much more acceptable in trusting relationships. What do you think?
Well, what do you mean by acceptable?
People are doing this more, and they're finding that's part of their sexual behavior.
Oh my God! Okay,
this sounds like a perfect relationship.
Yes, yes, and you know what? Right on. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is branching into a really deep part of what I'm going to be doing with my work. Male, female, inherent natural energy. Okay, the male is dominant. The female is submissive in general. We're not talking about dominant submissive roles in society. We're not talking about dominant submissive sexuality. We're talking about male, female, masculine, feminine, energy. We're talking about energy. So if you think about masculine energy, we're talking fire. We're talking the sun. The sun is masculine. The moon is feminine. The sun is hard. The moon is soft, ivory glow. The sun is forceful and dominant and intense and bright.
Right.
This is masculine and feminine energy at its core. And what we are as human beings is it inhabits us as male and female entities, right? We are all both. But when we're born as a gender, like I'm a woman, I've got a lot of feminine energy running through me, which is very soft, and the ivory glow of the moon, that feminine goddess energy. Whereas the man, Dr. Jenkins, he's the sun. He's the masculine.
There he is.
Bright and intense and aggressive, and it's a different energy. Now we each have both of those in us, and for each one of us as a gender to come home to an awareness of both energies in us is the beginning of a really strong sexual relationship, first with yourself and then with your partner, so that you guys can play the dominant submissive roles on a much deeper level. The dominant and the submissive can switch. I'm both. And it really just depends on my mood, and it depends on the partner. Mm-hmm. It depends on the chemistry. You know, Dr. Jenkins at some point is going to talk about chemistry and the physiology of flirting, the fact that we're all very connected through our pheromones. A female energy will attract and connect to a male energy that can sense her and smell her as she approaches. We can smell each other on very subconscious, subliminal levels. So this dominant submissive role switching back and forth, this is deep stuff. This is good stuff, because this is us coming home to who we are as male-female energy. And when you can switch it up, when your husband, when your spouse, when your partner is that dominant and you become his submissive, you have never felt like more of a goddess, of a woman, than to be at his command.
And this is
never
being
felt more of a man.
Yes. With your permission.
Exactly.
With
it's consensual.
Yes.
Consensual. And then you can switch. If that's on the agenda, if that's something you guys want to do, then I become the dominant, and he's in my lair. And I get to bring out the female energy in him that is the submissive. This is true of all human beings. There is no going against this. We are all male and female energy. To come home to it in these ways where we can play and we can have fun and we can explore together.
And we can tie each other up if we want to.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's endless.
And figure out somebody wants to be spanked, but
the
you have
flogger.
to do that with
get a good flogger
the right way, and learn how to do that. It can be great fun in a relationship, and I try to find out that inner kink in you, and we kind of challenge you to try that with your beloved tonight.
I'm thinking about getting a blood test for that.
A blood test for
kink factor.
How kinky you are.
The kink factor.
The kink factor.
The kink factor.
I like
KF.
it.
I like the stat KF on this person, please.
This is really about coming home to your true self. It's about integrating into your wholeness. And it's a journey. And it's something beautiful that you can explore, because I really believe human sexuality is such a strong gateway to our spirituality.
It is.
So-
It is. And I think that's where we need to go.
I think it's where we're
So,
going, for sure.
We have loved being with you.
It was fun.
And you have been listening to the Doc and Doc Show on KHTS 1220, your hometown station.
Thank you for having me.